Well, the president is expected to deliver arguably his most anticipated State of the Nation address at the Cape Town City Hall. That's tomorrow evening. This as the country is grappling with high levels of unemployment, service delivery challenges of all sorts, corruption, which some people say is now endemic in our society, and the effects of pandemic. Now, to help unpack this and discuss some of the expectations, let's speak to Investec Treasury Economist, Tertia Jacobs. Ms. Jacobs, good afternoon and thank you very much for your time. Your expectations, I mean, when are you going to be listening? What are you going to be listening for tomorrow evening?
Good afternoon, Dan. So that is a very interesting question. I think the starting point is, last year when President Ramaphosa delivered his State of the Nation address, we were in the midst of a COVID crisis. We were just emerging out of the second wave of COVID. Now, this time around, we are preparing for a normalization in economic activity from last year's lockdown. And I think from where we sit, especially in the banking environment, the focus will be very much on what's happening to growth. What can the president do? What is he going to announce to accelerate growth?
Acceleration the challenge. The acceleration of growth that talks to the economy, but the economy currently is facing all sorts of hurdles.
Exactly. Yes. And I think, we know that the solutions are very complex. But, part of this addressing the various issues is what are we going to do to accelerate growth? Because, prior to the COVID crisis, the economy was caught in a low growth trap. We've really struggled to lift growth beyond 1%. So this year around, after last year's rebound, where we're looking at about 4.7% of growth coming from, the contraction in the previous year, we are probably could grow at about 1.8%. So what are we going to do to get, momentum in the economy? And I think one of the key pillars that President Ramaphosa announced last year was the infrastructure-led recovery.
Yeah. Do we need, I don't know if I can use the word more, because some people might say they've not been there, but do you think we need bolder and decisive kind of plans to say this is how we should go in terms of reforms? I mean, we all hear about the need for the structural reforms. This is not a budget speech. Of course, it's a State of the Nation address, but he sets the tone for government for the rest of the year. Do we need him to be bolder?
Dan, so I think that is absolutely at the heart of the matter. Because as you said, SONA provides the government's vision for the next 12 months, right? So it's not always a detailed type of action plan. And I think, with South Africa, when you look at what are the details in this economic reconstruction and revival plan, there's a lot of detail. Part of the social compact is the master plans for the various, sectors like auto, sugar, poultry. We're waiting for the steel one. But, there's a missing ingredient. We know that President Ramaphosa is like a consensus decision maker, and that really slows down the process. So that is part of it. Yes, when we look at what has happened in the infrastructure development-driven recovery, there has been some movement in energy, with the announcement of embedded generation that no longer requires a license for up to 100 megawatts. But, we need faster movement in terms of the renewable energy plans, like Bid Window 5 was agreed to last year. That is not going to happen. But what's happening to Bid Window 6, where there's another 2,600 megawatts that needs to be added to the grid? So, so that's bolder. We sometimes worry that there's not enough urgency on government side.
Yeah.
And then, Dan, I just need to add, one of the major challenges still remain, it's a very stringent regulatory environment that many businesses face. And there's a lot of issues that they need to be compliant. And then, of course, is the capacity in the state yes, we do have pockets of excellence, but generally, when you look at the various spheres of, government, especially municipalities, which is actually at the core face of where a lot of the projects need to happen, there's still a lot of many obstacles that need to be overcome. So I'm not too sure to what extent many of these issues can be addressed. But I think what we also will be waiting for is, how can the whole public-private sector partnership be accelerated? And we know part of it is some regulatory reform. So I think that is also one of our key focus points.
As you're talking, I'm thinking here, Tertia, that this is a big year for the governing party. It's going to have its elective conference in December. And President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa is at the head of it. I'm just wondering how much of that will be playing in the back of his mind. And you are not a politician, you're not a political analyst. I know you're an economist, but when you look at the political economy setup, I'm sure you'll be disappointed if he sort of gives us a State of the Nation address that seeing that he's trying to protect his position within the party so he gets re-elected as the ANC president come December, rather than focusing on fixing the country's economy.
Dan, I think that's at the heart of it, because, what influences business and consumer sentiment is always the political stories. So we know, for example, with the expert report that came out about the factors that drove or contributed to the rioting last year was ANC political infighting. So that remains absolutely a key dynamic that we need to overcome to get a national vision for our economy to start moving forward.
Tertia, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your insights. That's Tertia Jacobs, Treasury Economist at Investec. Now,